this series, And They Lived Happily Ever After, we are seeking to find out what goes into a happy marriage. What makes a happy marriage? Because let's be honest, we all get married with this Cinderella, Snow White idea of living happily ever after. We have found our Prince Charming. We have found our Snow White, our Cinderella, our Sleeping Beauty. And we expect bliss. But we also know that many marriages don't make it. There's a lot of divorce. And even in couples where there isn't divorce, there is unhappiness. A lot of unhappiness. So as we endeavor to understand what marriage is and how we can have happy marriages, my desire is that you will learn what it means and be able to experience what we all desire when we get married, to live happily ever after. But before we begin to talk about marriage, what goes into a happy marriage, a long-lasting marriage, I would like to share with you some basic propositions about marriage. Over the years, as I have observed marriages, as I've lived in my own marriage, which right now, it's been 31 years that I've been married, and I'm a happily married man. What has gone into making our marriage, Cynthia and myself, a happy marriage, and many other marriages happy? Proposition number one, and I think this is crucial: marriage isn't really meant to make us happy. I could see you already wondering, what is he saying? Marriage isn't meant to make me happy? But of course, we all get married to be happy. That is true. But marriage is really meant to develop our character. You see, there is no other situation in dealing with another human being that will develop your character as much as being married to someone. Now, people, as they develop their characters, they become happy in their marriage. Let me put that another way. Marriage can't make you happy, but you can be happy in your marriage as you learn the principles of love, of abnegation, of negotiation. Marriage builds your character, and as your character develops and selfishness and immaturity are passed away, then you become happy in your marriage. Second proposition: we all get married because of expectation. Sometimes they're unrealistic, idealistic expectations. But who hasn't thought about making love on a rainy night with your wife or your husband? Who hasn't thought about romantic dinners with your loved one, or 3 wonderfully beautiful, obedient children saying hello mommy and daddy, obeying everything you say? We all have. Expectation drives us to be married because we hope to find all of this bliss and happiness, because we expect our marriage to be happy beyond compare. We get married. So, but while expectation leads us to get married, it entices us even. Flexibility keeps us married. What do I mean by flexibility? It means recognizing that you will never get a full package. Nobody gets a full package in marriage. There is always something that is missing in your spouse. Always something that's going to be missing. You will never receive all of your dreams and hopes. So you got to be flexible. What I have realized is this: there is expectation, what I hope to get in my marriage, and then there's reality, what I actually get. Now, between expectation and reality, there is what I call disillusion. In other words, let us suppose I imagined my marriage would be hot, vibrant sex 3 times a week, and I'm expecting this and looking forward to it. That's my expectation. But my reality is my wife or my husband only wants to do it once a month. And then it's very boring, and you know the kind of missionary thing, wham bam, and we are finished. No, between my expectation and my reality, there's a distance. And according to how far that distance is, reality from expectation, comes my disillusionment. my feeling that I don't want to be married. I don't like this marriage. I'm unhappy in my marriage. So while expectation entices us to get married, flexibility, recognizing that nobody gets a full package, we all have to accept that there are some things we dreamed about we will not get in our marriage. If we can accept that, it lessens our disillusionment, our dissatisfaction, and our desire to either walk out in our marriage or even cheat in our marriage. Something else that I found out: unhappy single people make unhappy married people. I know there are many people who think, if only I could get married, I will be happy. If only I could find my soulmate, my life will be pure bliss. No. If you are unhappy single, you will be unhappy as a married person. Because you see, what you take into marriage is yourself. Your own hang-ups, your anger, your resentment, your disillusionment, your depression, your sadness. This is what you're taking into your marriage. And one of the saddest things is for a single person to be so unhappy in their singleness, they waste it. They let it pass them by. But singleness is the best preparation for marriage. Making the most of your single life, being a happy single person, is the best preparation for marriage. You see, unhappy single people who depend on marriage to be happy, they put a burden on their spouse that no human being can bear. They cling and they depend on their spouse for happiness that cannot come from the outside. And the great thing is, when you are unhappy and you get married, now you are doubling the unhappiness because you're sharing and bringing someone else into that unhappiness. A happy single person, someone who takes the time to develop their talents, their abilities, to enjoy what it is to simply be alive, enters marriage with a satisfaction of, I have lived my life in full, now I'm ready for the second phase. Because sometimes people get married and then try to live single while being married, because what they were hoping to find in marriage, that happiness, it eludes them, and now they want to go back to singleness. Like I've said to many young people, you have more time to be married than to be single. Think about it. You may live 20, 25, even 30 years as a single person. But you have heard of people who have celebrated 50 years of marriage, 60 years of marriage. So then it means make the most of your single life, because when it's gone, it's gone. You have more years to be married than to be single. So enjoy being single, because once you're married, you can't go back. You know, I remember when I was single, I was never late anywhere I was going. I would get up, get dressed, and I'm out of the door. When I got married, I had to wait on my wife, who is not the fastest person in the world. And then I have to wait on my children to get dressed. I'd have to help out with the children. In other words, my freedom was gone. But I was ready for marriage. And because I was a happy single person, I was a fulfilled single person, I have been able to embrace marriage for all that it is. Have you ever wondered why there are a lot of problems in marriage? Poor communication. Many times, two people who are very much in love get married and with the best intentions. Poor communication leads to the majority of marital problems. When we don't know how to communicate, when our words get twisted, when we don't say what we really mean, when we speak in code, these are the things that destroy a marriage. Let me put it this way. We are wired to read body language. If I see you, I could tell if you're happy or not. In fact, after 30 years of marriage, my wife doesn't have to tell me anything for me to recognize, okay, she's upset. And you and I are not different. I mean, we all have been wired to read emotions. So, when I see with my eyes and I pick up in my emotions that something is wrong, the next thing is, what is wrong? You see, I may know something is wrong, but I don't know what is wrong. That is where words come in, communication. And if you're not communicating accurately, if you're speaking in code, or you're expecting me to read your mind, You have defeated the very purpose of language. Let's take a scenario. It's a Saturday night. The guys at church want to look at football on TV. And they say, hey, let's go over to Tom's home to look at the Eagles play. So I tell my wife, hey, sweetheart, the guys want us to go look at TV tonight and football. Can I go? No, she wants me to stay home. This is just an example. She wants me to stay home and maybe look at a romantic movie with her. Now, at that point, she says to me, well, if you want to, you can go. Now, something in my head tells me, she probably doesn't really want me to go. But her words are telling me to go. Her face and her emotions are telling me she's not happy that I'm going, but her words are telling me, you can go. At that moment, you have placed me, your husband, or you have placed me, your wife, if it is the wife asking to go, for instance, in a very tricky position. Because I'm getting two different communications, two different messages. Yes, you can go. No, you can't go. But let's be honest. If I really want to go look at football, I'm going to take message that comes from her mouth. Well, okay, I'll see you when I come back later. And I will leave. Then when I return, she's upset. Imagine, it's a Saturday night. I was expecting us to be home together. And you left. I said, but you told me I could go. But I didn't want you to go. No, but you said I could go. But if, let us suppose, I'm in a really loving mood. And I want to be loving to my wife. And she says that, no, I will take the other communication. I think she really wants me to stay. And I will sit down on the couch with her and look at one of her little crying chick flicks, and we'll have a happy night. That scenario happens so often in marriages. We don't communicate accurately. We don't say what we mean. We speak in code. We expect the other person to guess what we mean. That is a recipe for an unhappy marriage. So remember, poor communication is probably the single most prevalent cause for marital dysfunction and unhappiness. And in one of our later messages, we will talk about proper communication. Another thing that I have found out about marriage, and you've got to stay with me on this one. Marital love is made up of two components, eros and agape. Eros is that passionate, romantic love that says, I love you because of how you make me feel. When I look into your eyes, when you smile at me, when you do nice things for me, I feel so much in love. That's eros. It's kind of built on me, what I feel, how it makes me feel, my emotions. That's the romantic part of marriage. That's the sweet part of marriage. That's the part that gives you goose pimples when she touches you. That's the part that causes you to not be able to sleep when he kisses you. But then there's agape that says, I love you in spite of how you make me feel. In other words, you're not being kind, you're not being loving, but I still love you. It doesn't matter. I will still do what is best for you. I will still seek to be the best wife or the best husband, as the case might be. Those two parts of marital love are very important. You see, eros is the love that pushes me to get married, that makes me feel all giddy and I can hardly wait. It's the love that makes me lavish my wedding and to kneel down and propose, will you marry me? It's the love that I am looking forward to my honeymoon. Passion is good. I must say romance is wonderful. We've all experienced it. It gives you that butterfly in your stomach, that tingling feeling, and parting is such sweet sorrow. And when you leave each other at night, you can hardly wait for the next day. That is the sweetness of marriage. It's like the icing on the cake. Without that, a marriage is like kind of boring. It would be like a brother and a sister living in the same apartment. But that eros love is not unconditional. And I think this is where many people get confused. That eros love, that romantic love, is reciprocal. In other words, I give and I receive. I was kind to you, you are kind to me. It's the love that, how should I put it, needs to be fed. It needs to have quid pro quo, so to speak. So if I put on a lovely dress and my husband doesn't notice, I'm hurt. Or I cooked a wonderful meal, or I bought my wife a beautiful vase of flowers and she just, okay, put it down there. That's the eros. However, while eros entices me to get married, eros is what causes me to say my wedding vows. I will love you in sickness and in health, for richer or for poorer. Let's be honest. Nobody's getting married for sickness or health. Nobody's getting married for poorer. We all want better. But eros is so excited and ready to experience this bliss of marriage. It will say anything. I even say, when we say our marriage vows, it is not agape saying it. It's eros, passion saying it. And that is why people get divorced. Because they forget those marriage vows. We come to that in a moment. Now, agape is quiet and calm. Agape allows eros to do all his thing for that wedding day and say all these vows and write special vows and all that kind of stuff. But while agape makes the promises, I will love you, I will make you happy, I will be the best husband, the best wife, it is agape that fulfills it. It is agape who comes in and sustains the marriage. Because let's be honest, there are times when we disappoint each other. There are times when we say unkind words. There are times when we are not always considerate of the other. We hurt each other's feelings. And in those moments, eros, romantic love, takes a beating, like a knockout punch. And you don't feel too loving. And you don't want to talk to your husband. You don't want to talk to your wife because she hurt me. This is where agape comes in. Let me share one of my experiences. It was in the first year of my marriage, very early in my marriage. And either I did something I wasn't supposed to do or Cynthia did something she wasn't supposed to do. But we had an argument. We were angry with each other. And we did not speak to each other for 3 whole days. She would come into the house and pass me like a full bus. I would come in and I would pass her. We did not talk. And in those moments, my romantic love was dying. It was gasping for breath. And I was thinking, Lord, what did I do? What did I get myself into? How could I live with this woman? I'm sure she was saying the same thing about me. For 3 days, romantic love was comatose. It was gasping for breath. It was about to die. But I remember I was reading the Bible. And when I was finished, I was praying, I heard this voice distinctly in my head that said, husbands, love your wife. It was like so clear, husbands, love your wife. Now in this moment, there was no lovey-dovey feelings, there was no romantic feelings, there was just this, why should I love her? She's the one who was wrong. But the voice said, love your wife. And at that moment, I made a decision. I would love Cynthia. And I would demonstrate that love by doing something nice for her. So that day I came home early, I swept the house, I cooked, and I just made the house look so beautiful. And then I wrote on a poster board the words, I love you. And I put our wedding ring and I taped it to the Bristol board, because you see what had happened? While we were quarreling, she took off her ring. You can take your ring. I said, I don't want, you don't want it. I would throw it away. I mean, this was really terrible. And so she thought I'd thrown the ring away. But I was smarter than that anyway. I kept it. So I taped the ring on that poster board. And I waited. So she came home that afternoon, still upset. And she passed to me again like a full bus and walked into the bedroom. But something happened. As she was going into the bedroom, I think it was the Holy Spirit, but whatever it was, like something told her, step back out. So she stepped out and she looked up and she saw, I love you, and the ring. And then she began to smell the food that she hadn't smelled when she came in. Oh, you cooked? I said, yes. No, remember, agape stepped in and rescued that situation and revived eros, because when she saw what I'd done, she smiled. And then I smiled. And I can't tell you the rest, but it was a wonderful night we spent together with a lot of eros and a lot of romance. So what I'm saying is, There are these two phases of love in marriage. The romantic love that we all feel, and agape. Agape is that love that says, I choose to always treat you well. I choose to be kind even when you are unkind. I love you in spite of how you make me feel. And then there's that romantic love that says, I love you because of how you make me feel. But in saying that, would you believe that the first casualty of marriage, now listen to this, if you're not married yet as a young person, you need to hear this. The first casualty of marriage, the first victim of marriage is romance. Yes. All that passion that you're feeling as a single person, and if there's an honest married person listening to this, they will tell you the same thing. It can't sustain. You see, romantic love needs a lot of nurturing, a lot of pampering to survive. It's great, we need it, but it cannot sustain a marriage. That is why Hollywood marriages die, because it's built mainly on eros, romance. That is why many young people's marriage die, because it is built on romance. And as beautiful as romance is, it cannot sustain a marriage. And that is why when you are advised to speak to your parents, to find counsel, to look for compatibility, to pray, it is so that you may develop agape love, that strong love of the will and mind that says, in spite of what is happening, I will still love you. Just one more thing. There is no marriage that is long lasting, that is happy, without a lot of forgiveness, negotiation, abnegation, and compromise. Yes. People don't celebrate 30 years of marriage or 50 years of marriage without there being a lot of forgiveness. Forgiveness is a crucial ingredient in a marriage, because we will always offend. The Bible says offenses will come. Jesus is saying offenses will come. Sometimes we offend people without even meaning to. You may see your wife in a dress and say, that dress looks a bit big on you or tight on you. And all you meant to say, the dress looks tight. But she hears, I'm getting fat. You don't love me anymore. And she's all hurt. You've seen it happen. Because we offend. And that is where forgiveness comes in. Sometimes in anger we say words we don't really mean. You know, I don't love you. I'm sorry I married you. You know, I should have married Janet instead. We offend. Every marriage needs forgiveness. Forgiveness means I am seeking to restore the relationship. That I treasure our relationship more than my hurt feelings. It is something we learn. It is something that we develop as we go into marriage, but we need to recognize this is important. Without forgiveness, you can't make in a marriage. And negotiation. Sometimes we have to give up what we want. Like, I want to go out with my friends. She wants to go visit her mom. We need to negotiate. So, okay, this time, I'll go with you to visit your mom this Thanksgiving. But for Christmas, I'm going by my relatives. I'm going by my friends. You know, this time, I will give you your chance to maybe buy that dress you always wanted. And I'll not buy the shoes I wanted until the next time. Simple example, but the point is, we have to negotiate a win-win situation. Because I must say this, in a marriage, if we are not both winning, we are both losing. You can't win and lose in a marriage. Oh, I won the argument. I was right and I proved to him that I was right. No. If I win and you lose in a marriage, we both lose. So negotiation in a marriage says, how can we both win? How can I get my needs met and your needs met? And there are times when we can't both get our needs met. And then one of us has to be loving enough, have enough agape to say, you know what, I will give up my rights, abnegation. I will choose to let you have your way because I love you so much. With this in mind, therefore, marriage, like I said, is not a game for children. It's not a game for the faint of heart. In fact, I remember Jesus Christ saying that the race is not for the swift, is for those who endure to the end. And even as Revelation 12:17 says, here is the patience or the endurance of the saints. Marriage is not a sprint, it's a marathon. And to do a marathon, you have to train, you have to have self-discipline, you have to stick with it and have perseverance. But I want to say, after 31 years of marriage, you can be happy in marriage. It is probably the best relationship you can have with another human being in the world. And there's nothing as satisfying as having that one person in the world who knows you and loves you and understands you and stands with you. It is the sweetest feeling. And that is why I'm saying we can't have our Cinderella ending. We can't have our fairy tale marriage. And they lived happily ever after.